wasallam and accounts of these individuals themselves. They all professed love for each other, whether the Ahl Bayt or the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we the Ahl Sunnah, as we remember these individuals, it is also important that we bear in our minds the purpose and what we in English, in Arabic, we will call the maqasid, the goals of why we sit and remember and hold these conferences and hold these gatherings to remember these individuals. One of the main purpose should be that we teach ourselves about these noble individuals. As I was coming in, I noticed two young boys who were playing with their phones, and they were playing a game, a football game, in the masjid. They were young, so I didn't stop them. But what we need to focus upon in these types of gatherings that we hold is what is the purpose of these gatherings? What is the maqsad behind these gatherings? And that should be the ta'aleem of the deen, the ta'aleem of the aqidah that we hold with regards to these personalities. The Sahaba have been mentioned in the Quran al-Kareem, and there are multiple verses, either directly or indirectly mentioning them in the Quran al-Kareem. And likewise, voluminous books you may be able to compile from the hadith, if you collect all of those hadiths where the mention of the Sahaba are mentioned. What we need to then therefore look at is what is the collective understanding of the Sahaba when they have been mentioned in the Quran al-Kareem and they have been mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. How should we understand, in light of those verses and in light of those hadiths, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ? And is that the methodology that we will go forward in trying to understand them? Or is it the case that we will pick up books which are not revelations? They are not wahi from Allah to His Prophet ﷺ. Nor are they hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, a form of wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But rather they are historical books. Someone said this, someone said that. And because these individuals are historical figures as well, that we study these individuals from these books. Or is it the case that we should conclude that which Allah has concluded, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, and which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned? Yaqinan, the jawab is that our conclusions about these individuals should be that which is in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, one of the key points that the Ahl Sunnah believe in when we look at the companions of the Prophet ﷺ is that we hold all of them to be adul. They are all upright, honest, respectable, credible individuals. The word adul comes from the word adala, and it is our aqidah. It is not just a story that I'm telling you. We hold this to be a part of our deen. It is our aqidah that we adhere to the point that and we believe that the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in were all adul, and they had the attribute of adala. And this attribute was because of the barakah of the suhbah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions the Habib, mentions the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the role that he had in molding those companions, and how he taught the companions, how he did talawah to them, and then how he did the tazkiyah of those individuals. In other words, these were the direct students of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Their character building was done by directly the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah Azza wa Jal mentions وَيَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ. And He is the one that He recites upon them the verses of Allah, and He purifies their hearts, and He teaches them the book, and He teaches them hikmah. The hikmah here referring to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And what is the power of the talaba of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Once the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was outside the city, and an individual from the Bedouins approached the Prophet ﷺ, and he was sleeping under a tree. The Prophet ﷺ was sleeping under a tree, and he recognized the Prophet ﷺ, and this individual was not a Muslim, he was a mushrik. So when he recognized that the Prophet ﷺ was sleeping and his weapon was placed at his side, he approached the Prophet ﷺ and he said, "O Muhammad," so he woke the Prophet ﷺ up and said, "Who will save you from my sword today? Who will save you from my sword?" And the Prophet ﷺ did not panic. He did not rush for his weapon. All he said is Allah. Very calm and collectively. The effect of that coolness and collectiveness that the Prophet ﷺ had, and that yaqeen that came, that certainty that came from the voice of the Prophet ﷺ, that individual dropped the sword from his hand. The Prophet ﷺ then picked up that sword and raised it upon that individual and said, "Who will save you from my sword? Who will save you?" And he says, "La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah." And he became a Ummati Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Look at the ta'sil, look at the effect that the Prophet sallallahu has in whatever he says and to whoever he says it to. Once an individual came and he asked for a mu'jiza from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that if you are a prophet, tell me, give me a sign. And the Prophet ﷺ responded by ordering a tree to come to him. And this is mentioned in Qadi Iyaz in Shifa Sharif, that the tree shaped left and right, uprooted itself and came walking to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, when he used to walk in Makkah, and this is before he announced his prophethood, stones used to read the kalima and gave the Prophet ﷺ. This is the effect on those things that do not even have a soul, with lifeless things. Imagine the company of the Prophet ﷺ and the effect of that company that emerged upon those who were sitting around him and learning from him and benefited from him. Yaqeenan, there were those people like the likes of Sayyidina Abubakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was willing to give everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the barakah of the suhbah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was instrumental in forming the characteristics of the Prophet, of the Sahaba. When we want to recognize whether a person has this wasaf and this quality of adala, is he upright? Is he a person that we can trust? For example, when we look at hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a science called jara and ta'deel, where we look at the narrators and we look at the biography of those narrators and we see, is this a credible narrator or not? Is he a person who's practicing the deen or not? Is his qawl, what he says, and is his fi'l, what he does, is that in union or not? And if he is, then he's a person that we can then take hadith from, and if he's not like that, we reject his hadith. This is the science of jara and ta'deel. When we look at the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, we see that their ta'deel has been mentioned by Allah and His Rasul. We accept an individual to narrate hadith on the basis that what the biographers have said, what the Aimma of Jarh and Ta'deel have said. But the ta'deel of the Sahaba is done by Allah and His Rasul. In multiple verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. If there's anyone who is addressed to be the Khairul Ummah, the best of this Ummah, because they did Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, and they believe in Allah, then that is the Jamaat of the Sahaba. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states directly to them, this is the khitab directly to them, that you are the best of people. You are the best of nations. And another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ عُمَّةً وَسَطًا. Wasata means here, adulan. We have made you upright, honest, respectable people. We have made you people that the rest of the ummah will trust in propagating our deen and being witness upon the rest of the people. لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ, so that you have become witnesses upon the rest of the people. And subhanallah, this is one of the khasa and uniqueness of the ummah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that on the day of judgment, when Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will stand in the court, imagine Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam will stand in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah will say to him, is it you that told the people that you is the son of Allah and your mother was the wife and the sahiba? And he said, no, Ya Rasul, Ya Allah, you know what's in my heart, and you know that this is not the reality. And Allah will say, then bring the witness. Bring witness. And Sayyidina Isa will bring forth the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who will become witnesses for Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. Who will be at the forefront of those witnesses? It will be the Sahaba. It will be the companions of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, قُلٌّ وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الْحُسْنَى. Every single one of them have promised paradise for. Those who go to paradise are not people of fisq or fujur. They are not people of kufr. They are not people of nifaq. Those who have been promised paradise in this dunya by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the Sahaba, are those people who have adalah. If you look at some of the verses that are generic awsaf and qualities mentioned of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we come across another verse which is السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. Allah Azza wa Jalla in this verse mentions that the earlier individuals who hastened towards Islam from the Muhajirin and then from the Ansar, and those who then followed them with goodness, Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. Look how Allah describes the Sahaba. He describes them as He is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From this we learn the aqidah that we should have love and respect for the Sahaba. Because if they are beloved in the court of Allah and Allah is happy with them and they are happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you who hasn't been promised Jannah and you who can die as a kafir, there's no guarantee that we will die upon Iman. But the Sahaba, who some people make a target of their criticism, who criticize them, who have no yaqeen that they will go to paradise, are attacking those who Allah is pleased with and they are pleased with Allah, and who have been promised Jannah by Allah Azza wa Jal. Is that the situation that you want to put yourselves in? So, one of the aqidah that we hold in regards to the companions is that we have love and respect for the companions. One of our great Imams, Imam Tahawi rahimahullah, mentions that we do not mention none of them except with goodness. When we talk, when we mention, when we write anything about them, we do it with goodness and we remember them always with goodness. The disputes that took place, which is a fact that there were disputes amongst themselves, to the point that there was wars also. We refer to that as the mushajarat and the arguments and the disputes of the companions. It is important that we also learn what the aqidah of the Ahl Sunnah is in regards to this mushajarat of the Sahaba. We base that upon multiple, that aqidah, we base it upon multiple ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ in a hadith mentions, Allah, Allah fi ashabi. Fear Allah in regards to my companions. La tattakhiduhum gharadan ba'di. Do not make them a target of your criticism after me. Based upon such hadith and other multiple verses of the Quran al-Kareem where the ta'jeel of the Sahaba is mentioned and the hadith which mention the adala of the Sahaba, we hold our tongues and we do not enter the dispute and we do not criticize the Sahaba in regards to their disputes that they had amongst them. Believe that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is a better judge for them and for us. And we say that those disputes that took place, the right and wrong between them sometimes is clear, like in the dispute of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu with Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, but sometimes it is not clear. So what we say is that because of the true and pure intentions that they had, we do not criticize them and they will have an ajr and reward for the ijtihad that they did. Those who were not on the haqq. And those who are on the haqq, they have two rewards in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One for their ijtihad and one for being right and correct in the issue. This is the way that we deal with the companions in regards to the mushajarat of the companions. Ridwanullah ta'ala anhum ajma'een. The hadith that I was reading, it continues. فَمَنْ أَحَبَّهُمْ فَبِحُبِّ أَحَبَّهُمْ. The one who loves them, then it is out of my love that he has for me, loves them. And the one who hates them and shows hatred toward them, then it is then that is through the hatred or because of the hatred that he has and the lack of love that he has for me. And the one who gives them azab, the one who gives them taklif, and the one who harms them, then he has harmed me. And the one who has harmed me, then he has harmed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can he harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He cannot harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person, in other words, will be a total loss. In a hadith, it mentions that the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam cannot be equal to the rest of us. Cannot be equal to the rest of us. So this is another aqidah that we hold, that no one who came after the companions can be equal and barabar to the companions. This is another principle of the Ahl Sunnah. And this is based upon multiple, again, ahadith and verses. One of those verses is where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that if you were to give a mountain of the Uhud mountain worth of gold. Now those who have seen the mountain Uhud in Medina Munawwara, they know how vast and big it is. If that amount of gold you were to give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will not equate to a mud, which is 1.5 kilograms, that's it, of dates that the Sahaba gave in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It cannot be equal that your amal or the amal of any wali that comes, whether he be the ghost or the qutb, can equate to the amal and the maqam of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, whoever equates between a non-companion and a companion, doesn't matter which rank of the companions it is with, then he is not from the Ahlul Sunnah. He breaks the principles and the aqidah of the Ahlul Sunnah. The deen, like we learned from the hadith of Sayyidina Jameel alayhi salam, is broadly, you can say, understood in three ways. We have Islam, which is the outward practices that we do, the pillars of Islam, for example, the prayer, the Hajj, the Zakat, and we have Iman. Iman is the aqidah and the belief that we hold. And the third thing that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned was ihsan, which you may understand the spiritual aspect of Islam. So we have Islam, we have Iman, and we have ihsan. Now any outward action of Islam that we do, any aqidah that we hold, and any point of tasawwuf and spirituality that we practice, it is only accepted in the court of Allah and His Rasul if it's in line with the teachings of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it contradicts, then it is rejected and it is mardud. Inna deen inda Allah Islam. There is no deen except the deen of Islam. And whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. It will not be accepted from him. وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And he is in the hereafter from those who are at loss. Therefore, the companions who were gifted to the Prophet ﷺ, and they were those who Allah chose for the companionship and the nusra of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They were the people who saw the best and saw at first hand and observed at first hand and learned at first hand from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, not only Iman and Islam, but also the spirituality of Islam. Therefore, they were the forerunners of all of these aspects. Those who came after are all dependent upon their spirituality, their understanding of Islam, and their understanding of Aqidah upon the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is for this reason that Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was, it's mentioned in multiple books. Imam Suyuti mentions this, and even Hajar al-Haythami also mentions this, that he explained the outline of his methodology of deriving the fatwa and deriving the understandings from the Quran and the Sunnah from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he says that when I want to know a mas'ala, I look at the Quran Kareem. And if I don't find it there, I look at the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if I don't find it there, I then look at the companions. And if there is a consensus of them, I go with that consensus. And if there's not a consensus amongst the companions, I take an opinion of one of the companions, one of the two. For example, if there's two opinions, I'll take one opinion over the other. And If that is not the case, the masla is such that it has not been explicitly mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah and in the aqwal of the Sahaba, then I move towards the Tabi'een and I do my ijtihad, and they are men and I am a man as well. Yani they are people of opinion and I am a person of opinion. Remember Sayyidina Abu Hanifa was from the Tabi'een. What is important to notice here is that how he holds himself to the qawl of the Sahaba and the ijma of the Sahaba. And this is how important the opinions of the Sahaba are in the Sharia, that they formulated the four mazahib. And the benefit of that is that all these disputes that were at that time, because of the adala of the Sahaba, they do not remain a dispute amongst the four madahib, and they tend to be issues that we all agree upon. So that's one of the barakah of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ and the ilm of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Azza wa Jal give us tawfiq that we understand the maqam of the Sahaba, the maqam of the Ahl Bayt, and rectify our aqidah about the Ahl Bayt. So to summarize, we believe that all the companions are adul. That is without the istisna of anyone, every single one of them. They are all being promised Jannah. They all will go to Jannah because of the suhbah and the barakah of the suhbah of the Prophet ﷺ. They are all people of good intentions. None of them had malice intention with each other. And they do not fight for the dunya at all. All of them are people that we should have love and respect for. And all of those individuals are the forerunners of all the aspects of our deen. They are the people who we depend upon, understanding the Quran and the Sunnah and the Aqidah and the Islam and the Ihsan that we have. Allah Azza wa Jalla gives us tawfiq to live a life in accordance to the Mazhab of the Sunnah.
MashaAllah. Barakallahu feek. Beautiful explanation about the Aqidah, about the companion of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. How should we have the Aqidah about all the Sahaba? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, radiyallahu anhu wa kullam wa'adallahu